It's dangerous to drink from the same well twice, my little honeycombs. But here you are, returned to my fire, for the next horror story from the Paperback Podcast. Well, we'll resume from where we left off and see if you can escape this time. The Witch Hunters, Episode 2, by Lane McLeod Jackson.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Janice deserved this cake, and the office put together a little extra effort because of the troubles. I shouldn't really mention it, but it rhymes with divorce. And Janice such a nice lady. Sure, she's put on a few extra pounds since the wedding, and frankly, Mr. Magoo could have seen this coming, but it does no good to say I told you so. To her. We all whisper it to each other. Neapolitan ice cream I scooped from the box we've hidden in the freezer, but don't tell anyone. Consider it classified. She smiled up at me. Thanks, Emmy. The outpost out here was small, but we did good work. Sequestered on the 4th story of a college, our cubicles settled next to each other, screens mounted on the wall, muted but playing local news. Based on the images at the time, a dog was caught being adorable, film at 11. Sebastian chewed aggressively on his Nicorette. He wasn't one for pleasantries or basic human decency. How do you eat so much sugar? His nose twitched as I handed him a paper plate. Practice, I answered. Now smile. He didn't, but I managed. Poor boy is still bitter. Okay, folks, eat, drink, enjoy. Pizza's on the way. I'll take Delphi duty. Save me a couple of slices. My ability to realistically grin and bear is running dangerously thin. And I don't want to ruin this moment for Janice. Particularly since this will probably be the last bit of fun we have for a while. I'd slept in the office last night. A Facebook post out of Pelham calling for help over a missing cat caught my attention. Ugly little feline, patchy hair, but loved. So many pictures of the goblin. The computer thought it was different animals, which is why it got flagged. And by itself, this is nothing. But I'd remember a missing persons report 3 towns over from Pelham. Enough for a tiny peek. And naturally, this led to nothing, but I can get bullish once in a while. I had my coffee and the overtime had just started. So just for fun, I started reading up on the Pelham School Board. Last 4 years' meetings uploaded their YouTube. Recently, they'd contained all the usual end-of-the-world proclamations involving the youth. Won't someone please think of the children? That kind of thing. Libraries in general are a good place for our friends to hide, and I found in recent years, the new scopes rhetoric brings out formerly covered fault lines in communities. Heresy thrives in the liminal, someone once told me. And clearly there were unspoken wounds here. Besides, I was bored. Finally, I found a mark. A small one, but enough to justify the evening's mania. Cynthia Brandeis of the local school board had left a message on the earlier Facebook post offering a reward for the goblin cat, despite having no relation to the cat's owner, and the missing person happened to be her aunt. The feline was found eventually, its heart removed. Back in the old days, we'd strip the witch until she stood naked before us. Black gloves and a careful eye, we'd examine the skin by the fingerful. Careful not to miss anything between strands of hair, under an arm, between the cracks. Once we discovered the familiar's mark, a 3rd nipple, or a vicious little mole, we'd truly begin. A barbaric age, no denying, and to quote Presidents Grant, Nixon, and Ronnie, mistakes were made. But now the process is far more intimate. I can learn things about Cynthia Brandeis even she doesn't suspect. Computers wield algorithms who open the piercing eyes of God. Maybe not God, maybe the hounds of hell in digital form. Either way, I unleash the power. First, her purchases fuel suspicion. New Age nonsense in itself. Harmless. Recently, the purchases became more precise. A few items returned for lack of quality. Angry emails filled with bougie indignity. Not real quartz, she mentioned in a scathing message. Now, how did Cynthia learn the difference? The seeds purchased and the greenhouse equipment demands our attention. Mandrake, garlic, wolfsbane, followed by UV lights. A kitchen coop dominated her searches until a few weeks passed. So why turn towards harvesting animal organs? Why the hearts? Officially, our society does not recognize the difference between white and black magic, wicked and wondrous, vanilla and chocolate. It's verboten. But only an idiot doesn't take variety of lethality into account. Quartz, herbs, a little wand play. That's not the same thing as blood, death, and pain. So what triggered the change? As I begin to sort the odd bits of information, a story crystallizes. Cynthia Brandeis, a former inmate of the very high school she currently protects on the school board, graduated with a 4.0, a member of 3 different clubs, and then off to a deeply capable state university, where she majored in history, with a focus on Italy, the embodiment of a bloodless existence. Her last 3 semesters were spent abroad, a fact she still mentions continuously on her social media. The before and after are striking. Before, Cynthia stands on tiptoes in the second row of so many photos. Cynthia dressing almost well, clearly copying the star of the moment. Even those truly exceptional faces in the front of the picture. Cynthia, never ostracized, always included, but an extra in her own life. Her long-term boyfriend before Italy seemed to be a goofy pity pal of her current husband. In the yearbook, I can see his acne. But the old boot changes lives. I've seen Eat, Pray, Love, and my work taught me in the old country some traditions never die, despite the Vatican's worthy efforts. And the waters of Tuscany certainly had a magical effect on our Cynthia Brandeis. Now her hair falls in lush curls. Her skin glows. Now when a picture snaps, the group instinctively gathers around her. And now she's married to her high school crush. She finally has it all, happily ever after. If only human psychology worked that way. But after a decade of waging suburban war, what happened to escalate your involvement in dark arts, Cynthia? Was your husband unfaithful? Were you? Did a health scare strike? Maybe you felt age caress your skin, Cynthia. Maybe as your precious little princess blossomed, you realized she was absorbing the very life from your bones. Snow White syndrome? At 4 a.m, I get a little loopy. And now, hours later, avoiding workplace camaraderie, I think, what precisely did she learn as she backpacked and practiced her romance languages? The phone summons the voice of our cousins in Lucca. I've made a few friends over the year, even though the Inquisitors and us don't always see eye to eye. Allies usually stand together. Pronto? A husky, sensual voice. It does me no harm to imagine a raven-haired Mediterranean god with piercing, cruel eyes and a sensual smile. I'm no saint. Ciao. I allow a little flirtation into my voice. It's your cousin Emma from America. I think a mutual friend of ours might have been traveling in your neck of the woods about a decade ago. She came back a little different, more beautiful to be sure, but wicked. Her name is Cynthia Brandeis. I hear the computer clicking while he responds. Do not try and fool me. This is an angel, yes? I can tell from your voice. No, not an angel. Far too many broken hearts at my feet. Ah, tentazione. We were warned about you. Maybe we should visit in person. We can discuss our mutual friends in a villa. I've always had excellent taste. Okay, I grin as the rising sun paints orange shades of life on the asphalt parking. Calls me temptation, does he? Sinful boy. I should come and punish you, but I'm already on the chase. So have you found something? Or do you waste all your breath on flattery? Allow me to make amends. I have something, though it's not much. She was here and visited Madame Bianca. A cunning little viper we skinned 3 years ago. I can send what she usually taught tourists. I forgive you. Maybe we'll meet in person one day. Until then, ciao. I hang up before he can respond. Leave him wanting more. Or maybe just because I'm rude. Who knows? But the email comes in seconds, with a private number attached. Cheeky. And I compare and contrast the dates. Cynthia roomed with one of Madame Bianca's daughters while on her semester abroad. A direct connection. I'll be honest. If one were to plunge my deepest feelings, there is a fair amount of sympathy for the women who took on this art in previous generations. Even now, when I find some innocent, beaten widow who discovers magic and used it for a knife, I push for leniency. But that's not the day in and out. It's usually the daughters of dentists who confuse absolute authority for freedom, brought up by princess fantasies of their gifted nature, and instead of working, demand the world appreciate them. These tend to be the women. The men involved are vicious pieces of work. In my previous life, back when I worked a crime beat for the Camden Gazette, I met murderers, drug dealers, junkies, and pimps. I hated them. Romantic language with the brutality of a slaver. Their girls, their money, theirs. Male witches give me the same vibe. Ding, 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 I mutter. We are out of time. Sebastian, get your creepy bald ass over here. He's eating a slice of cake while he approaches. His second. Am I creepy because I'm bald? Or is my ass suspiciously hairless and that's creepy? Yes. Now, look here. I need you to arrange a meeting with this man. Greg Brandeis. Gotta be soon. Get us into these houses, 235 Vellum Drive and the Brandeis one, 54 Oak Lane. Safety exam on both, and fast. I've got a feeling on this one. I better get going. He scarfs down the last bite. Way too much sugar. He's gone for 2 hours before it becomes clear we're too late. I close my eyes, feeling the weariness, glad the request for a tap happened last night. News of arson and death passes for now, only through the local police airways. A call from my supervisor will slow the spread of information by a few hours, but that's all. This wasn't supposed to be bad. I thought I'd caught an issue before it metastasized. I hear agonized voices over the radio, the tone corrupted by tragedy. A house burned down, 10 missing. The current assumption is that the whole study group got trapped, I imagine by a spell beyond their skill. And searching my feelings, I'm unable to feel anything close to pity. Hopefully that's exhaustion, but all I seem to think is, see what happens when you play with fire? I catch a nap on the drive. Sebastian, already ahead, took Cordelia, Vincent, and Oleg. It's an hour by car, but 15 by chopper. Teams go first. They know what to do in the immediate moment. I'll make calls on arrival. Andy, we're pulling into a hospital? I observe. Yes, ma'am. Vinny called ahead. The husband, Greg Brandeis, got rushed here. Turns out a Class 3 spectral anomaly nested at the house. The witch burned up and the devil turned on the only surviving member of the family. Class 3? The hell was this bitch up to? When our retrieval team arrived, the man had torn out his left eye. Classic, I mutter. Pass me the coffee? Seems like only a few sips later and I'm standing outside his room. The doctor, one of ours, stands with me. His muttering reflects the peaks and valleys of his heart machine, growing louder before almost vanishing. Will he survive? I ask. Don't you decide? Let's not be glib. What's his prognosis? He's recovering. The man will be fully cognizant soon. It's not only the demon's influence draining. His beloved wife kept him enthralled. Violent wrenching echoes through the room. Cynthia! Cynthia, where are you? I'll kill you! Don't leave me! Oh, poor man, I say diplomatically. Keep him alive. I'll be back. 7 neat piles of ash dust the feet of full skeletons who still stand tall in this home's husk. Each face the star of the show. A corpse melted on the floor. Viscera and flesh baked into the ground. The entire scene feels incomplete, unrendered. When I inspect, I tend to mutter. 10 little girls stood in a line. 1 fell down, and then there were 9. 9 little girls were running late. 1 fell down, and then there were 8. 7 little girls. 7. 7 and 1. Missing something, boss? Sebastian taps his earpiece. I assume checking to see if we need to vanish. Spell gone wrong, right? No question, but why? 7 bodies, yes. Well, 7 offered as a sacrifice. 1 woman in the center. Good number, 7. Magical. They're spaced out. Seems fine. What went wrong? Do we have any idea who these poor, unfortunate souls might be? The standing collection of bones nearest me seems so clean. It should be hanging in a science classroom. If I touched it, would the glistening white bones feel like plastic? Is the marrow inside cooked enough to eat? Sebastian taps again on his earpiece. We got a list for a book club at Cynthia Brandeis' home office. Names. Tiffany Lau, Vanessa Freeman, Lucy Slater, Monica Quinn, Penny Madison, Daphne Harris, Nancy Carr, Kirsten Carr, and Carol Brandeis. Her own daughter. That's not 7 and 1, that's 9 and 1. 10 little girls standing in a line, even more powerful than 7. 9 offered to the gods below. But we're missing 2. More police coming, Chief, Sebastian interrupts. We've got 8 minutes. We're missing 2. Let them miss 3. Take the melted centerpiece from the floor. I want an autopsy full, but smart money that it's Cynthia. Let's find our absent skeletons. I sat up back at the hospital, going through papers my teen copies. The broken sobs and screams echo from the other room. Good old Greg. It's been hours, and the mystic claws haven't retracted fully. The wailing agony does not disturb my slumber, and I catch 4 hours before the good doctor wakes me. "Sir," he whispers, "the husband's conscious." "Coffee," I demand. "Bring it to me." And then I'm in his room. Greg is very handsome. The photos did not do him justice, and I liked his look in the photos. His hair sticks to his forehead, the fever's finally broken. Instinctive charm takes his face. "Hey there, where am I? Mr. Brandeis?" Yeah, that's me. Gregory Brandeis." "Sure." "Gregory Brandeis, husband to Cynthia, father to Carol, senior vice president to Outer Logistics. Do I know you? How do you feel, Greg?" I'm... Then the tears come, his cheeks stained by salt. Even after all these years, this never gets easy. The decaying of a mind under control, feeling his body only at a distance. The world became a monstrous dream of which he had no control, dragged from place to place, emotions injected into his heart, spells infecting his mind and soul had lived here for years. But now he can speak. He tells me everything. He confesses. That awkward classmate who went to Italy, the bombshell who returned, the first bitter taste of love that she slipped into a drink. That taste never left his lips. Cynthia made sure. She baked it into his chicken, and he licked it from her lipstick. Sometimes in cruelty, she made him drink it raw from her little potions. The only thing he genuinely loved was his little girl, little Carol, the song of his life. And Cynthia knew it, hated it. But somehow Carol never fell under the influence. It was fear that kept her, fear and the hope that one day her precious father would somehow escape. But it never happened. I let him continue for a while, but finally direct him to the last few months. What changed? Did it get worse? Oh yes. She met a new person, a book, leather. It frightened him. Cynthia became even more paranoid, more ambitious. She experimented on her husband, cutting into his flesh, burning away his gray hairs. Immortality was within their grasp, she promised, after they rectified the great mistake. She meant Carol. I can hardly hear him through the snot. His voice tears. I couldn't stop. Carol might be alive, I offer in a moment of mercy. We're missing 2 bodies. But Cynthia's dead, I promise. That smile, the boyish, excited grin that covers his face, it makes him beautiful. "So what now?" he asks. "You rest," I answer. "Close your eyes." He obeys. His body tenses. Might be he senses fate, but it's probably habit. I can't risk getting too close in case other darker magic still infects this poor man. But a gun is faster than a syringe anyway. The shot destroys his face. However, if I look carefully, I can still see the hint of a smile. Hiya, I'm LJ Longo.
And I'm Lane McLeod Jackson.
Honey.
And I'm Lane McLeod Jackson.
Tales from the chaotic musings of your hosts, 2 love-struck creatives. Paperback Podcast unveils bi-monthly stories from an eclectic array of genres.
Here, we come out of our shells on the odd weeks of each month, hopefully to your delight and probably God's scorn.
Welcome and enjoy.